Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. So let's recap where I guess, continue where we left off. We were talking about the hiring of George Paton, and you watched the press conference and I want you to give me your impressions, not just of him, but the kind of the two worlds apart kind of thing. You got Elway and Peyton. So,
Oh, okay. When it comes to this press conference, their mindsets can't be further apart, in my opinion. When it comes to George Payton, I believe that he comes from the mindset of building from within, building from the inside out. And that's what I got from this press conference from him. And doing a little bit more research over the past few days, I have found that he is a guy that likes to build from within, like I said. He's a guy that believes building from the trenches out. He's a guy that literally he said in the press conference that he believes that you don't need a franchise quarterback to win in this league. And what that tells me is that he is going to make sure that he's going to do everything he can to rebuild the trenches. Because I don't think that he's going to go and get a quarterback now. That being said, I think that John Elway is still going to have that power to make sure that he gets a franchise quarterback. So, like I said, this press conference, I know that your wife is in media and you know this about PR stunts and all that stuff. I'm not really too diverse into that. I don't really know much about PR, but I know bullshit when I see it. And what I got out of this press conference is George Payton and John Elway I don't believe, are nothing alike in their mindset on how to build an NFL team.
So what does Elway have to say? What did he specifically have to say?
Well, Elway specifically had to say that he still believes in Drew Lock. He said that he wasn't going to meddle. He brought that up many, many times, which I think is such a lie.
Signaling that he's going to.
He's virtue signaling that. Oh, I'm not gonna. Don't worry about me. I'm not gonna meddle in the big decisions, which is not true at all. I think that he's still gonna meddle. And he just brought up the quarterback. It was just the quarterback. I still believe in Locke. I still believe in exactly. So. Like I said, what I got from this press conference is both of their mindsets are very different on how to build an NFL team. So
in a perfect world, it would be nice to see John Elway actually live up to that, but it hasn't been the history.
Yep.
History has not shown that, and I believe that based off of what I've seen, throughout my years, there's the guy who calls the shots. In the real world, you really don't see that person. That person is so separated. But this is how I interpret, this press conference is like this. It's like I'm the guy, John Elway. I call the shots. So let's bring in George Payton here. Let's bring him in. Hi, my name is George Payton. Nice to meet you, everybody. I want to build from the trenches. I believe in Drew Lock. We don't need a franchise quarterback. No. Trust me, it will be different now. Thank you, George Patton. You can go now. Okay, bye-bye.
A puppet.
Obviously they'll throw a breadcrumb or two to somebody like us.
Yeah, obviously.
There'll be a breadcrumb or two. But I have to see it to believe it. I just don't think Elway can control himself when it comes to the big decisions. Was he going to be there with the playbook anymore? Well, I'd like to say probably not that, but when it comes to player personnel, that's seeing has to be. I have to see it to believe it. I have to see it to believe it.
There was I agree with you. It's probably because that what he said kind of resonated on how I build an NFL team and how I want this team to be built. And I know that the breadcrumbs thing, but I just like that he brought up looking at the scouting department, see if we can get better there. Like you've mentioned thousands of times, because the truth tellers like to say that we have the best scouting department in the league, which is not true at all.
Well, obviously he brought that up, and that's no, of course it's not. Well, everything's the best because they're paid to toe the company line.
Absolutely.
So yeah, of course. Well, it's the best. Of course, it's the best. But
yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So where you're coming from, I can see it. Where it's the the Mickey Mouse line and the Elmo line. Exactly. I can see that. I can see that full heartedly, and that's probably what's going to happen. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was.
I mean, didn't we see this with Fangio? That basically wasn't he promised a bill of goods, and I'm sure it wasn't as advertised, and he's stuck. But it just, we'll see. We'll see. He's definitely sounding more like us than the feel-good crowd.
Absolutely.
But one thing you have to look at in Minnesota, their offensive line, of course, he only had so much say there, but their offensive line isn't any better than ours.
Yeah.
They're kind of on the same bad level, but at least their fans realize they have an offensive line problem.
Well, just like me and you, we see that all the feel good fans at STR can see that we have a top 15 offensive line. To me, that's not the case. I don't.
Well, I mean, I got footage that says otherwise.
Exactly. For example, you have footage of the. There's plenty of footage out there that you have.
Still footage we're going to get to later on.
Exactly. I mean, that's another story for another day. But I could bring up this defensive line that everybody says that with Jarrell Casey and Shelby Harris that this is a feared defensive line.
Well, who's saying that nonsense?
STR still.
Okay, yeah, okay, towing the company line.
Yeah, towing the company line. Cody Rourke, all these. I'm just trying to. These platforms out there that are saying that that this is a fear defensive line with those two in the lineup, which is not true.
Yeah, these are the platforms that produce highlight reels of a 5-11 team.
Yes.
And trying to sell it as this is the most feared thing ever, but we're a 5-11 team.
Yes.
That's why they can't understand why they're losing people. This is the thing that STRs. Well, I'm going to have to get into it with the DeShaun Watson thing. But I want to, before we get into DeShaun Watson, I want you to wrap up whatever else with Paton and Elway.
When I was listening to the press conference, obviously I was excited because he's saying the things that we're saying here. I mean, building from within, grinding, all that stuff that is successful to be a GM in this league. It just there's something there that I want to believe in George Paton because he is a new voice and he's on the mindset of me and you. That's why I was so excited because you have said for ever since you started this channel in years, and I've been saying for years that we need to rebuild the trenches, and that was one of his main like talking points in this press conference is like, hey, we got to start building from within. We got to start building in the trenches because we got to get this team back to respectability. And I'm like, okay, well that's what a GM is supposed to say. But then you turn to John Elway here, quarterback. Oh, I'm not going to meddle. Like it's ridiculous. So that's all I have to wrap up. Like
I see Matthew Stafford.
He's just like he's a walking injury waiting to happen behind this offensive line.
So if you see, we'll get into DeShaun Watson later on, but if you see them bring in Stafford, the porcelain doll. If you see them keep Jarrell Casey, these kind of things, what will you be thinking at that point? As STR and all the platforms.
Elway.
Oh, it's more of the same. Yay.
Elway.
As usual.
Elway as usual. Elway's having more say than he's supposed to.
Yes.
Al Davis.
Yes. Yes. Maybe I should go back and take a look at some of the footage I broke down during when Jarrell Casey was in there, Tampa, Pittsburgh, when he was totally unaffected, totally a non-factor.
Thank you. And Shelby Harris too. I would also bring up Shelby Harris. I know that Shelby Harris and all the fans out there praise and rave about Shelby Harris, but when it comes up like this is how I interpret talent. I want you, if we're going against the best, I want you to beat your best. I don't want you to disappear when we're facing the teams like you said. Okay? That's how I interpret how this team needs to be built. That's
what actual fans do. They should do that. You shouldn't pretend, play make-believe. No. That's why we're not liked. That's why we're not liked by them, because we counter that argument that, well, here they are. Here's the footage. They disappeared. Quit telling us that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Please stop that.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's kind of what we're saying this GM really should do. Just cut through the bullshit and start selling Elway. And again, I'm upset with the money they gave Glasgow. I mean, that was ridiculous for what we got. And I got idiots trying to tell me that the Broncos aren't spending money. And, we got this, blow out the budget on players that are, sitting in hot tubs, underachievers, dropsy doodles. I mean,
that are getting suspended.
People getting suspended. If I see more of this, it's more Elway as usual. No, they don't want to bring up all this stuff. You don't unsubscribe so you won't listen to that stuff. It's just absurd. And that the culture here is not going to change until that mindset is gone.
Now, I have a question. Is it okay? With Graham Glasgow, it's not the money that we gave him was absolutely ridiculous for an average guard, in my opinion. I think he's an average guard. They were saying that he was a top guard in the league that never gets hurt. And then he comes to Denver and gets hurt. Shocker. Ron Leary.
Yeah, well, because that's sports talk radio, and they're basically
exactly. You're Ron Leary.
Everything is the best. Everything is just the best. Flacco.
Yeah, exactly. You're Ron Leary 2.0. I mean, when he was at Dallas, he barely was hurt, and then he came here and he was hurt his whole.
Well, no, I think Leary was hurt. Had been hurt he wasn't in the early part of his career, but that was the thing that I didn't want him, because he was becoming injury prone and whatever, he was getting older and taking a beating. But of course, John Elway, ahoy! He's a name, right? He's a name.
But then you had Nate Moody, who STR brought up correctly. Actually, they brought him up. Who played better than Glasgow?
Well, how can you play him when you're now paying Glasgow?
That's what I'm talking about. That's not how you build a team.
No, these are the problems that you create with bad. Again, when somebody tells me, and you got to scratch your head, a GM doesn't have an impact on wins and losses. I mean, just what universe do you live in? Now you've created, because of bad management, a system where you have a better player, but is he going to get? And here we go again. Is the GM going to step in and say, "We're paying you more, but you're not. You're going to be benched unless this guy gets hurt"? Now, one of the knockoffs on Moody was his run blocking, and this is the problem too.
It's a rookie.
Well, this is the problem too. You got Moody, who's not good at run blocking. You have Elijah Wilkinson, that's horrible at pass blocking, but is a good run blocker. And there's no synergy with the player personnel. We don't have guys that can do both. That's where we go and say, look, this thing has to be built from the trenches up. We need people we need to start finding guys that, look at Buffalo. I mean, They were playing the Ravens, and Josh Allen's back there again reading War and Peace. But nobody wants to talk about that because it's what? Quarterback.
No. GM had no. The GM didn't build that offensive line. It was Josh Allen.
He went and just like in the playground, he went and picked you. I want you.
He wasn't. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Jesus. Yeah. So yeah, it's that kind of stupidity that we're up against. So, what we're going to do is in the not too distant future, we'll discuss who we got to get rid of. If in our perfect world, who would we get rid of and why we would get rid of? We got to first. You can't just talk about the draft. That's the difference between what we bring and all these people that are putting carts in front of horses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in my opinion, too, if they brought in, let's say, Stafford, just to throw that out there, Cousins or something like that, in my opinion, you need to get rid of Shermer then at that point. There's no sense in keeping him because they're going to be learning something new anyway. So I would try to get anything but Shermer. But because Locke has been under Shermer, we're stuck with that horrible coach, in my opinion.
I just want to say this to the fans out there. Why can't we just stick with the quarterback, please?
They can't do that.
I don't understand.
When I brought that Josh Allen, when I had the Josh Allen video, I had people from all different NFL teams coming and saying the Broncos will never have a good quarterback because they don't know how to develop the team around a quarterback. They don't know how to stick with a quarterback. They just want to get the latest, greatest toy, DeShaun Watson.
We can talk about that. We can segue into that.
So that segues. Okay, DeShaun Watson. Hold on. DeShaun Watson. I just got it in. It's another one. To be honest with you, I cannot see DeShaun Watson even wanting to go to the Denver Broncos or something like Miami. I'm listening to really absurd talk. I mean, just off the charts absurd talk. Well, you don't want to go to a team that's going to give up draft picks. Let's first talk about DeShaun Watson in Texas. I think the ownership of the Texans blew that team up for him. Okay? I think that, he should work out whatever it is with that team first. That should be his first priority. Okay? I think they fired the head coach. I think they did that for him. I really do. I think they did it for him. Because the squeaky wheel gets oiled, right? They sign him to this big, big contract.
Yes.
The squeaky wheel gets oiled. Now, if I'm DeShaun Watson, first of all, I'll say as far as if he came to Denver, it would be very interesting, to say the very least. I'll get into that in a minute. But if I'm DeShaun Watson, you know what deal I want? I look over at Tom Brady, and I say to myself, well, I want to go to a team like him that's functional. One that's building, like you said, that was building the lines out, okay? One that's ready to take the next step. If I'm DeShaun Watson, I'm looking at Brady, okay? That's the direction I want to go. Absolutely. Maybe when I'll throw a wrench into everybody and call San Francisco up, who, in my opinion, I don't, maybe Garoppolo later in the right situation or something could be a good quarterback. I think that was one of their mistakes by giving him so much.
I think that if they do that trade, they're going to have to trade. It's going to have to be a switch for Garoppolo.
Yeah, it could be something like that. But
that wouldn't be a bad deal for both parties, I don't think.
That if I'm DeShaun Watson, I'm not going to Miami. I'm not going to the Broncos. Listen, John Elway is dealing with a guy named Von Miller right now, right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong to Von Miller, Elway?
Yeah.
Do you think for a second? That's why I say that it would be interesting to see DeShaun Watson come to the Denver Broncos. You think, Mister, I'm the guy. You were then, I'm now, is DeShaun Watson. Could you imagine Elway now having to deal with a new clash? So I don't think Elway wants anything to do with DeShaun Watson because I think there would be because
Clashing.
one thing you'd get all these idiots that are talking about how great the offensive line is. Soon as all these free runners, you think he's going to put up with that for I know he'd rather throw than run based off of what I've seen. Do you think he's not going to call out what's going on, all the crap that this organization? You think that the guy would go nuclear here?
Oh, he would go full on. He would go full on rage.
Rage.
He'd go full on. It'd be 10 times worse than it is in Tech.
Could you imagine him putting up with Shermer?
Oh God. It would be like Cutler and McDaniels. It would be like that revelation of that. It'd be like
Cutler and Pat Bowlen.
Yeah, Cutler and Pat Bowlen.
Because Elway's the Pat Bowlen. He's not Pat Bowlen, obviously, but he's playing that role, right? So I could just see this, man, and of course the feel-gooders are so off in orbit somewhere, so out of touch. They can't see that.
You know why? Okay, can I say something? You know why this guy is? I like talking to this guy about sports and football is because he brought up a really good point that STR and the feel-good fans aren't bringing up. He has a no-trade clause, so he can decide whether he wants to be traded to here or not.
They haven't talked about that.
No, you guys aren't talking about that.
Well, they don't get into it. They mention it, but they don't get into it. Well, they'll say, "Oh, I want to go to Miami because they have draft. They got
go to Miami.
They can move up in the draft." What
they got Tua.
I'm trying to explain to anybody with two brain cells. If you're DeShaun Watson, you absolutely have to be looking at Tom Brady and the deal he walked into. I'm not going to. Why would you walk onto a sinking ship? You're already on a sinking ship. Why would you walk onto another sinking ship? It doesn't make any sense when you hold the cards.
Okay, let's just hypothetically talk about what would. Okay. If Denver gave up 3 draft picks and Bradley or Von Miller or whoever it is, or whatever, this would be a train wreck because you have all that money tied to one person. DeShaun Watson, he is a great quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. I like him a lot. I liked him coming out of Clemson. I did. But you're going to have all that money tied to him, and then you're going to be stuck with dead cap money that you have with if you trade for Matthew Stafford, you're going to be his dead cap is $33 million next year.
Well, that sounds like a total Elway move.
And that right there, I think, makes more logical sense than Deshaun Watson.
Well, I just don't see Deshaun Watson wanting to come to Denver. It doesn't even seem
because of the no trade clause.
I would see Deshaun Watson getting with San Francisco.
That'd be perfect.
Isn't he kind of a play actionist type QB?
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't he fit in with Shanahan's system pretty well?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, to me, that would seem, if I'm Deshaun Watson, that's the direction I would trend. I wouldn't Miami and why would you these two horrible organizations now? Thank you, Elway. I mean, now we're in the now. We're not. It's not where we're going. We are here, and I think that's why Sean Payton is saying this is to be built. You know what? The Broncos should be forced to have to get behind Locke to make them start building the team.
Thank you.
You just stop pretending, stop showing highlight reels of a 5-11 team saying that, oh, we're just one quarterback away, So.
And can I say this about this whole situation about the organization? Okay. To STR in the online platforms, Brittany Bowen will not be the next owner of this team. Okay?
She met Sean Payton.
Oh my God! She met George Paton. Okay, cool.
Sean Payton. I want Sean Payton. Don't you understand? It's in my mind, guys. I just don't like Shermer.
But we are going to sell this team
It's going to be sold.
It's going to be sold. So the online platforms continue your little,
Game.
just
Mind game.
where, where you're trying to, dupe people into thinking that Brittany Bowen was going to be the owner. Okay, it's not going to happen.
Well, that brings up a topic, though, is I wonder if this was an Elway move, George Paton, this contract, was that when the next owner comes in, he's stuck with Paton, George Paton. And hold on a second. And when the new owner comes in, I'm going to drag Elway along. Can we bring Elway in? George Paton, can we bring Elway in? Here's the thing too: is Elway? I sent you an article where I think it was Woody Page, where they talked about Bolin had said to Elway that you got two choices. One, open your wallet up and become a part-time owner. Oh, no, Elway said, no. Okay, then you can be upper management, but you can't be both. You're either an owner or you're upper management. Elway said, I'm not going to spend any of my money, but he doesn't have any problem spending Bolin's money. Okay, so I just think that this whole the only way they could get anybody to sign with the Broncos was to extend them through an ownership sale. Okay, and I think that they want to bring Elway's ideas. Maybe you can drag, because without that, I mean, at least he'll have an option to maybe he can get drug in if he likes the ownership, or depending on what he thinks about the ownership. But I think he left a door open for himself. Go ahead.
No, I think that's one instance. I think another instance is maybe George Paton wanted a 6-year deal because he knew this might be Elway's last year, and then he could get out of the stranglehold of Elway. And once that new owner comes in, he could kind of get the job going here that he wants to do. I think there's two avenues here that we could talk about. I like that. I like that a lot. What you brought up, it makes a lot more sense than mine. But I think the other one is George Paton. It's not that George Paton. He just speaks my language, and that's why I like him a lot. And I didn't know the guy, but he just something about him. He just speaks my language where. This is how you build a freaking NFL team. It's not corners bullshit like Elway used to do.
I will give Elway credit in this regard. Is that I always figured there's something sneaky going on with Elway though, but I will give him credit for this. Is that I think George Paton makes the Bronco organization look more attractive to a prospective owner if they can cut Elway out of it. If they can
that's what I'm saying.
Elway, you can be our mascot. You can, come here, wave with your gold jacket. You deserve that. You deserve the gold jacket. You earned a place in NFL history to build this whole monopoly of football. So in that regard, yes. But if they can just completely sever the tie with Elway, now you just have George Paton. Let's see what you can do now that you don't have. And that's another thing too. I don't want to see Elway brought in an owner's ear.
What? So during this offseason, there's going to be. I think there's going to be clear distinctions on what this team is going to look like. And what I mean by that is there's going to be two things that you're going to see this offseason. I think that you're going to see the George Paton side of how he wants to do it, but what's going to overshadow that is the John Elway moves. And it's going to make no sense.
How will we know the George Paton moves? When they're been trumped by Elway.
Exactly. I think that you're going to see, because one of the main objectives was he wants to build within. I think he wants to keep the players because he's tired of seeing good talent go out of the building, the likes of Chris Harris, Justin Simmons, but they better not pay Justin Simmons top 5 money. If they pay Justin Simmons top 5 money, I'm done. Because if they're able,
they're most definitely. That's totally.
That's
they won't pay. They wouldn't pay to keep like the linebacking. They wouldn't pay Malik Jackson where they really need that presence up front. But what they will pay for, again, the dysfunction of management, and let people understand this. This is nothing against Justin Simmons. We're looking at positions. And we're saying if we can get built up we use that Justin Simmons money to get built up in the linebacking and get built up front, there are plenty of good safeties out there that will do just as good of a job as Justin Simmons without having to pay for that. I understand that. I will say this though. I understand you want to talk about loyalty. I get that, but you should have been loyal with the Malik Jacksons. You should have been loyal with yes. It's kind of late now. We also know that Von Miller is probably going to try to get as far away from this place as possible.
Yeah, they're already talking crap about Von Miller, which is
of course. Yeah, that's what STR does. That's what STR does. That's what they do.
Can I just say this? I was listening to an online platform, and I'm not going to call them out because that's not what I'm going to do. I've learned to just let it go. But here's the deal. You are going to sit there and tell me, you online platforms out there, that an NFL defense now in the modern NFL is built from the outside in? What?
No.
So they're
reinventing football. They're reinventing football. Now that's not to say. Don't get me wrong. It's not to say the Broncos could use some leadership in the corner. Callahan, I'm just a little bit disappointed in his injury proneness. Fantastic player. Well, here's another deal too. We've got him, and then we've got our running back Lindsey, injury prone as well. That we got to figure out what we're going to do with, or do we stay loyal, or
I think they're going to put a second round tender on Lindsey.
I don't know. I think Lindsey. I think John Elway would like to get rid of Lindsey because I think
he hates the Lindsey because Lindsey proved him wrong.
Yes, exactly. It's just it always shows up that, and I will give Josh Gordon. I will give Melvin Gordon this. He did finally, after I don't know, was it week 10, week 11, figure out to be patient. When we were saying this, those other platforms that know so much.
Can we bring this up too? Go ahead.
I want you to bring this up. Platforms that know so much never would whisper. Why Melvin Gordon, why he was so bad, why he wasn't doing good.
Why he wasn't pass blocking that you brought up and you showed footage of.
Footage. Then they started to keep him back there. So they fail us every time. They are a failure in reporting Broncos.
So I have to look at it. I think I looked at it because it was a new voice. I looked at it because it was a new, just something new that I could just latch onto and be like, okay, this guy relates to what me and you were talking about. But at the end of the day, we all know who will make the big decisions, and that's John Elway.
Yeah. Isn't that right, Mr. Paton? Oh, yeah, Mr. Elway, that's
right. This whole thing, I like Paton, but man, it's just going to be the same old shit. It's going to be the same old shit
until this team's sold.
Until this team is sold, and Brittany Boland is not going to be the owner. I'm tired of hearing. And then we have to with our whole film breakdown. Weren't we the first people out there bringing up the inconsistencies of Pat Shurmur?
Yeah. Bad play design, bad play
just
calling.
Awful.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just going to stick with our 3 wide receiver set.
Well, you know what else we did? We showed footage of Tennessee Titans with Munchak. And it was identical to what we were saying. And, man, they avoided that. Did you notice how they all avoided that about Munchak's influence in this?
They don't even talk about him anymore.
What's that?
They don't even talk about him anymore. So he's not even part of the Broncos organization. Oh no, we don't have to give credit to Mike Munchak for Garrett Bowles. It was all Garrett Bowles. Are you freaking kidding me?
Well,
the resources,
oh my God. Just the resources spent
for that guy.
On one guy, and who was the other guy that could have been drafted besides him? Who ended
up? Ryan Ramczyk, who's an all-pro right tackle.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry. You could have focused on the rest of it, but we're idiots. We don't know what we're talking.
You decided to waste 4 or 5 years of all your resources to one guy, and we're struggling at right tackle. We've had 4 right tackles in 4 years. And you had a right tackle from Wisconsin who, okay, I believe, and I've lived in Wisconsin, and I've seen Wisconsin football. I believe the best offensive linemen come from that program because they build their offensive linemen correctly. That's how I would go about this. I would go about, okay, so if I was a GM, I would look at the likes of Army, Navy, Wisconsin, because they run old school football. They don't run this spread offense because that doesn't help offensive linemen out, in my opinion. That doesn't get you from your pro sets.
By outside the Bronco, yeah.
But they ain't gonna talk about that. We have to go after Alabama offensive linemen. We have to. I have nothing against Alabama offensive linemen, but dude, they're washed up when they come to the NFL. Jerry Jeudy, who look, there's a better receiver named Smith who won the Heisman, who I think is a better receiver than Jerry Jeudy.
Wait a minute. There's a guy on the Broncos. When it comes to special teams, he's shit. He couldn't play special teams. Tyree Cleveland. Now, I wanted to say something about Tyree Cleveland. Ask me if you didn't notice this. He was out there with every catch making Jerry Jeudy duty looking bad with every one of his catches. Then he dropped one that
and then they pulled him.
Yeah, he got. Yeah.
Dropped one pass.
Didn't that say everything right there? That we can't. Everything. Oh, this guy's making our scouts look bad.
Yeah, he's making our John Elway, just golden boy, look like dog crap.
Here's something else. Maybe I shouldn't be dogging on the scouts. Maybe people have a point about that, because are the scouts in the same position as Paton is going to be? Do they maybe have good players, but Elway just overrides it?
I think there's something to that, because when I've read article upon article where, for instance, it was a lot of the people wanted Devin Bush, but then they traded out, got Noah Fant, who's a damn good player. I love Noah Fant, and then they got Reisner and Locke and that whole thing. But when it comes to this past draft, a lot of people wanted Henry Ruggs, or a lot of people wanted offensive linemen. But who overrided it? John Elway.
They're boring until they're in the playoffs, right? Yeah, they're boring until they're in the playoffs, and your quarterback has got all day to sit there and read a book. Oh, boop.
And can I say this? Can I say this about the whole? This comment that you got attacked by because he's a part of an online platform. He just comes here to start shit. Can I just say this to that person? If a GM doesn't contribute to winning, then why is Buffalo in the AFC Championship game? Why is Kansas City in the AFC Championship game?
Well, why is San Francisco, a team that's so injured, so decimated, still
better than
playoff? Well, you know what? When you start saying the same thing over and over, you start believing your own bullshit. And we see that in real life too. Okay, you just start believing your own bullshit. So yeah, I mean, why do we even have a GM? Why? He's a paperweight in an office somewhere. Well, in some cases they are bad, and then it shows.
I want to bring up a perfect example. I think it was the Buffalo Bills video that we got a lot of views on and some very good comments on. Thank you for that, by the way. But I specifically said in that video that I had no faith in Carolina being the Packers. Look how different Green Bay is than it was with Mike McCarthy. in that regime. Look how good they have drafted. Look how they've rebuilt that offense and defensive line. And look where they're at. Same with Tampa.
Well, let's stop. Let's time out for a second. When the pieces fell apart around the quarterback, now most people would agree that Aaron Rodgers is a serviceable quarterback that could take you to a Super Bowl, right? Am I wrong about that? That he's good enough to get you to a Super Bowl?
He's a damn good quarterback.
But what happens when the pieces around aren't there? They just start becoming average.
They squeak in the playoffs. They barely win.
Yeah, barely win. So this is what I'm saying about, it's not Patrick Mahomes. It's not Tom Brady.
No.
It's put all those guys on the worst teams and see what happens. They'll want to take a gun and shoot themselves. Again, with DeShaun Watson, is he going to come here? Why? Why would he do that? It doesn't make.
I would even say the same thing for Stafford.
He's already making the money. Well, Stafford. Well, yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I don't think San Francisco would trade for Stafford.
No, I could see Indianapolis because they have the right pieces in place.
Well, if what's his face left, Rivers left, yeah, maybe so.
No, he retired.
Oh, he did? Yeah, then yes. Then that would be a good fit for him. I wouldn't look. Yeah, yes. If I was to pick
Garoppolo.
Well, Garoppolo, well, that would be that he would be a victim.
But just in case, and just if they didn't trade for DeShaun Watson, you know what I mean? Like that'd be a perfect thing for Garoppolo too.
Oh, going to Indianapolis?
Yeah, going to Indianapolis. Okay,
well, he's supposedly already in a good situation, although I didn't really, I'll be honest with you, I never got why Shanahan brought in Garoppolo because the systems are different. The Belichick or Josh McDaniels is the quick release pocket quarterback. It's just a quick release quarterback. It's not play action is what I'm getting at.
Can I bring up something about this whole? I just want to end this Tom Brady, Bill Belichick talk because even our own people are talking about it. Oh, look what happened when Brady left.
Okay, he went to
Can I just say something to that, please? Bill Belichick is still the best coach in football, in my opinion, and his whole offensive line was hurt, and he had Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Okay, so what are you supposed to do with Cam Newton? I don't know. I just this whole thing about Tom Brady should be happy Tom Brady should be happy that he had Bill Belichick. Same with Bill Belichick should be happy that he had Tom Brady. So
well, if I was New England, I would talk about who's in the draft that you can move up to. That you don't need it. When you got Belichick, you don't need a Fields. You don't need the other guy, Lawrence. You don't need that. You may find a guy that you can move up and get who's accurate. All you're looking for is a
Jones.
Guy. What's that?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, Alabama. A guy who's accurate. A guy who's high completion. That's all. If you're Belichick, you're looking for a high completion quarterback to fit your system.
Or they could trade for Stafford.
Yeah, yes, if they can get their offensive line back. Yeah. Stafford, well, they could do both. Yes. Yes, New England would be attractive to Stafford because they have a proven offensive line, not this fake crap, our offensive line. Well, we're fifth best. I mean, they don't play those games over there. They know what they are. Okay.
Sorry, just to say something. Online platforms, please, if you want to comment on here, send me the film on how this offensive line is a top 5, top 10.
Well, no, they've done that. They've shown you a highlight reel. This is what they show.
Highlight reel isn't going to get it done. Sorry.
They don't show you the breakdowns. They won't show you that. They'll show you that we got a guy out there that's what he does. He shows highlight reels, and that's fine. Pop the popcorn and enjoy the show. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, they are not doing what I did, showing the breakdowns.
But if you did, you get censored. You get hate for it, which I really don't care. We can get hate all we want. but we're going to continue to put out real stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, but I want to go back to New England, the New England situation, because they do build from the ground up. They know how to build they're proven. It's a proven system. So Belichick, so Belichick would be attractive, much more attractive for Stafford to go to New England and move up in the draft to get a replacement for Stafford.
Yes.
Somebody you can bring up through the system. Like you got Bledsoe, and then you brought up Tom Brady. History can definitely repeat itself in New England.
The exact same thing happened in Kansas City. They had Alex Smith, and then they had Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
This isn't, and then with Green Bay, they had Brett Favre, and they had Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Yeah, this isn't rocket science.
Yeah, this is what we've been talking about all along.
Absolutely.
What the Bronco fans, what STR Bronco, what the people here want to do all the time is like grab. I see a player. Come here. Come on, play. They don't know how to build anything. That's why I said it would be in the Broncos' best interest if Stafford went to New England, DeShaun Watson went to San Francisco, and the Broncos were forced to get behind their quarterback and go and start building up the offensive line. I don't want to see Casey back here.
No.
I do not want to see.
I don't want Boye back.
I don't want Boye back. Exactly. Yes, they're not costing the Broncos on cap money, but they're costing them in player personnel when we can get better player personnel.
You can free up a lot of money and go get better players.
Exactly.
Overspend, but
that's
get better players.
That's where what's his face? That's where Simmons comes in.
Yeah, Simmons.
And the money, we're talking about the money. You're already going to get rid of Von Miller, so that's money right there. Use that to attract, infrastructure players, the linebacking, the front and the line, both lines. Get yourself a corner. I'm not opposed to getting a corner.
I have a good corner out there that we should go after.
Who's that?
Awuzie from the Cowboys. He played for Colorado. Who is a really good player. It won't cost you a lot. They're saying that we should trade for Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints and give up a first rounder, where I can find a similar player from the Cowgirls.
Now the players I've seen that these top caliber players, they're pretty old.
Awuzie isn't that old. He's like what, 26, 27?
Who's that? Is that the Rams guy?
The guy I'm talking. No, he played for the Cowboys.
How old is the Rams guy? How old is the guy at the Rams? We got to give up everything for.
Oh, the guy from the Saints.
Or the Saints. I'm sorry.
Marshawn Lattimore. He's like 26, 27 too. But I don't want to give up a draft capital for a guy that. I mean, okay, he's on the last year of his deal, Marshawn Lattimore. I liked him coming out of Ohio State. And it was that draft where the Saints had that great draft with Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus Williams, etc., Von Bell, etc. I mean, if you get Marshawn Lattimore, I could see the upgrade. But you're giving up draft capital where you could get defense and offensive linemen, linebackers, etc., and you can build the depth of this team because the depth of this team sucks.
Well, we lost out. We were talking about Harris, and if we would have brought Jordan Phillips, that would have really brought up Harris's value. And what we saw but now we blew that deal. A once in a lifetime player that comes, an up and coming guy who's right there with Chris Jones, okay? Because he's playing with other people, okay, other people around him in Buffalo.
Who
can we get to solidify the middle of the line? Who's out there?
What I've been doing is I haven't looked at the defensive line yet. I've looked at corners and linebackers. I'm kind of working my way back and just trying to.
I've been working on the line, and I can't find a replacement for that. What we would have got with Jordan Phillips, it would have cost us, but again, it looks great in the playoffs.
I actually have two players in mind. Now that you bring it up, and I'm not bullshit, Solomon Thomas, or Leonard Williams from the Giants. Those two players I want. I want one of those two players. Solomon Thomas comes from the 49ers defensive line. I think that he is probably going to go to the Jets because they hired their defensive coordinator. Leonard Williams, I really hope that we get Leonard Williams. I like Leonard Williams. He fits the scheme. He's a 3-4 player. He's 300 and some pounds, and he's a pass rusher. He's not your run stuffer. You already had that with Mike Purcell. So all you need to do is get a pass rusher down there. Well, you need multiple, but I'm just saying, you add Leonard Williams to this, that he is not as a Jacob Phillips, but he's close to it, and he's not that old.
Now, I wanted to talk about the Jets just a second, and we were talking about Flacco, like Aflac. When we were playing, when the Denver Broncos played the Jets, I showed the night and day difference between each one's offensive line.
Yep.
Joe Flacco goes there. He looked like a different quarterback because that's one thing the Jets actually did have was a decent. I mean, when we played them, of course, with other teams are playing, it may not look as good as, obviously because our defensive line, that was with Casey. I want to say Darnold, Sam Darnold. He had all day back there, most of that game. Flacco didn't actually look bad because they were able to give him a bit more protection, about quite a bit more than our offensive line.
And then you see Rippon out there getting his ass whooped. Like, this is ridiculous. So online platforms, stop showing